grow at a rate of 8% over the next 5 years, the hard skills developed through these programs have been more relevant. In sharing the economic growth rates, it is important to underscore that women's sport has been a key driver. Global Olympic and Paralympic partner Deloitte estimated that women elite sport generated $1 billion in revenue last year, representing 300% increase on their 2021 evaluation. These figures underscore that investment in sports sector can make significant contributions to gender equality outcomes. We have witnessed this impact firsthand through our efforts to drive gender equality across the Olympic movement and beyond. Headlined by the Paris 2024 being the first games in history to achieve gender parity on the field of play, thanks to the distribution of equal number of quota places for female and male athletes. Indeed, gender equality was at the heart of these games, from a stronger visibility of women at the opening ceremony right through to the women's marathon, concluding the athletic program for the first time in the history of the Olympics. Beyond the games, strengthening the representation of women in decision-making positions in the Olympic movement is having a wider impact of gender attitudes. 47% of IOC executive board members are women, a 105% increase since 2013. 43% of IOC members are women, 74% increase since 2013, and 50% of IOC commission positions are held by women, a 150% increase since 2013. Across the 500 plus community sport and development projects that the IOC and our collaborators are supporting, where women-separated data is reported, 58% of the beneficiaries are female. What does this actually mean? The Play for Equity initiatives provides a good illustration of what this means. Supported through our cooperation with the Australian government Sport for Development Program, Team Up, together with UN Women and the Oceania National Olympic Committee, the initiative provides unrestricted small grant funding to community initiatives to advance gender equality in and through sport in the Pacific. The Leona Outrigger Canoe Club in Samoa is one beneficiary. Maxine Sausi Mailo, their co-founder, explained the importance of this investment by saying, the issues that surround the participation of women in paddling are the stereotypical perception that paddling is only made for male because it is not really a sport for the thin-hearted. The investment from the Play for Equity Fund helped the club invest in female-specific equipment and programs. This is challenging gender stereotypes that are a barrier to young women and girls fully experiencing the health benefits of being active and the community fully realizing the economic potential of the sector. We are in the midst of the greatest displacement since World War II, with over 120 million people impacted. The IOC and the Olympic Refugee Foundation are showing the role sport can play. The IOC Refugee Olympic Team provides a powerful symbol of hope and resilience and raising awareness of refugee issues. Beyond this powerful symbolism, more than 850 young people affected by displacement have been able to access safe sport with the support or contribution of the Olympic Refugee Foundation through programs in 12 countries delivered in partnership with a range of partners. One of these initiatives, Games Connect, in Uganda, epitomizes the impact these programs can deliver. And a randomized control trial, a first of its kind in sport and displacement contest, found that the program structured sport for protection activities significantly reduced symptoms of anxiety and depression and provided tangible mental health and social inclusion benefits for refugees and host community members. Let me give a voice to a participant in this program. Ever since I enrolled with Game Connect, my life and mind is free from stress. I started being fair to myself, I realized who I am, and I got to know the hidden talents I have. This impact and many more sport-based projects are concrete and backed up by growing evidence, and they are low cost and deliver a tangible social return on investment. But there's significant potential and a need to scale up and expand their reach and subsequent impact. So public development banks, development financial institutions, and social impact investors, the Finance in Commons Summit community have an important role to play by extending consensual and blended financing to enable the scaling of sport-based inclusive human capital development programs, and by articulating the availability of this financing and associated risk-reduced approaches to policy makers and potential co-investors. In conclusion, the International Olympic Committee and the Coalition for Sport for Sustainable Development stands ready to work with you and advance these objectives. Because it is only by working together that we can ensure more young people in precarious economic situations facing gender inequality, social exclusion, and displacement can realize the positive benefits and return on investment that sport-based human capital development programs can deliver. Thank you.
Matlohang, thank you so much for opening. Yes, I think you deserve a good round of applause for opening this panel. I think we heard what our objective is. I think you have very inspiring experiences to share, but also a very rigorous approach about identifying the impact of these initiatives. It can't be overestimate how important it is that we have the globally leading sports organization working on sport to deliver these social outcomes. It's sport itself that has to be reconfigured to a huge extent, such as education systems as well, to be able to deliver these social outcomes. I now turn to Andrea Benassi, Head of Public Affairs, Communication, ESG Projects, and Sustainable Development. That's already a strong message in your title of the Istituto per il Credito Sportivo e Culturale. Now we have heard this morning Antonella Baldino already explaining that this development bank has a very special mandate to carry out and finance sport-based infrastructure and sport projects. I thank you for limiting your presentation today to the second part we want to focus on, which is rigorous attempts to evaluate the impact of sport. And I would like to hand you over, because this is a quite complex subject to dive into, as you will see. Over to you, Andrea.
Yes, thank you very much, Philippe. I have to win this personal challenge with you because you don't believe that I will stay in 6 minutes, but I'll do my best. I would like to start really and be very short concerning what the sustainable development definition is for PDBs, because normally sustainable development definition is do produce benefits for current generation without harming the ones of the next generations. But for normal, let's say, traditional banks, the definition is directly linked to comply with all the regulations that should help you to deliver a good sustainable development. For PDBs, it's something more, and ICSC as a PDB really has this objective of going beyond what is a real compliance, which is important, but the mission is quite different. This is not only a question for ICSC, it's for all PDBs, but we have the privilege to represent and invest in sport and culture. There are two sectors, the fields of activities that by definition are delivering sustainable development. So down here I have a report is what is the situation of ICSC and in general of banks and companies. This is the figure representing when you have to apply to become a benefit corporation, so somebody really involved in sustainable development, you receive a score. As you can see in the left side of the figure, of the slide, we are in the regenerative, so-called regenerative paradigm, but the average, as you can see in the right side, is much below 80, which is the no-return point, let's say, is 51. So almost 300,000 companies and banks that are submitting this questionnaire are much, much below. So this is something that is witnessing the high level of impact investing that ICSC is doing, but also the reality of the average of company is in this moment. Well, one word on methodology and functioning of this data platform, which is a strategic tool for the Institute to deliver what I was saying until now. So we really use this tool because this is the first, how can I say, contact with the Institute when potential beneficiaries of our investment, of our financing, is applying us. So they have to be, let's say, scored by this platform, which is giving back mainly two indicators: the ESG factors, risk factors rating, which is important, I will tell you more in a minute, and the social return of investment. This is the methodology which is utilizing international standards, so it's an accredited platform. On the other side, the functioning is very, very simple. It's just a questionnaire on a general part, and then they have to answer concerning the ESG factors and the social return of the investment, but the questionnaire is automatically produced according to who you are and how much you are demanding. And these are the dashboards that the platform is giving back. Down there you can see that you have the real score concerning ESG factors, but also the two-dimension graphics on the guidelines that you are following, complying or not, such as certification, health and safety at work, business continuity, so all the main factors concerning ESG factors. And this is the dashboard concerning social return of investment, where really you have to demonstrate which is the generated outcome compared to the investment, and not just the output. But we'll tell you more in a minute also on these things at the last slide. And this is the process that we have used to build our platform. So we started with a portfolio estimation of 30 years. We did this in 2023, so the portfolio is 1993-2022, that was giving back a good results, but above all a gap analysis of where we had to invest more to be more and more sustainable developers. And then on this basis we built the platform, which is an ex-ante evaluation based upon the declaration of the potential beneficiaries. And then we have evaluated around 1,200 projects until now in 22 months of life of the platform, and the results are really, really encouraging. What is more important are the point 3 and 4. The 3 is the monitoring, because now we are evaluating self-declaration of potential beneficiaries. When we start with the monitoring, we will see if they have built the infrastructure with our money, with the money that we lent, according to what they declared. So this is very important. And last point is the integration, full integration in the engine of the bank, in the risk processes. This is the most important thing, because in the end, this is the last and conclusive slide. What the Delta platform is for, why is it strategic? Because when we are going to giving back an ESG rating, it means that we are really verifying if there is a concrete risk for the investment, not just, they are called ESG non-financial, but in the end they are really financial. So we are raising this kind of risk factors to the same dignity, to the same level of the traditional evaluation that banks are used to conduct. This is very, very much important, and this is what is really distinguishing us. Second point is the result of the social return of investment. It means that we are not to evaluate just the output of our investment, but our objective is the outcome and the impact. So we do care not the result, immediate result, which is an instrument in the end that the beneficiary will produce with the investment, but the outcome. So how the beneficiary will ameliorate his behavior, his education, his production, and then the impact, which is the return, the final return on its community. So this is really distinguishes us as a PDBs, ICSC. So we do not care just for the output as a normal bank, but we do care for the impact, the final one. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Andrea. You made it in, I believe, 6 minutes. The timer fell apart, so I'm estimating your time. I don't know how you managed, but I think we learned 3 things from this presentation. Number one, here you hear some form of the language development banks and other investors speak, and that we need to take into consideration for making the business and government case for sport. Number two, you have a leverage. You're driving system change by this methodology on your clients, on your co-funders, on blended financing instruments, and on the beneficiaries in fine through this consideration of not only the financial but also the social and economical impact of your investments. And thirdly, this sort of methodology is what partners of the Development Banks Coalition for Sport bring to the table for all other members in this coalition. Thank you so much, Andrea. I now turn to Céline Guilquin, Head of Social Link Department, Agence Française de Développement. Céline, I don't know how to introduce your intervention. It's the hardest challenge, I believe, of all panelists to try and make it in 6 minutes, because you tick all the boxes that need to be ticked here. As Agence Française de Développement, we are here thanks to you, to a big deal. Thanks to you, we have this coalition of Development Bank for Sustainable Development through Sport. One day I will get that title right. And I don't want to limit any of your interventions. You have a joker. Try to make it in 6 minutes, please.
Thank you so much, Philippe. I'm really honored to be here today with all of you, especially talking about the impact of sport here in South Africa, in Cape Town, where we all know that in a city where sport has unified and transformed communities, with the Rugby World Cup a few years ago, and also FIFA World Cup, and also various the numerous grassroots initiatives that we can see in Cape Town, like Wave for Change, Zigzag Circus, that are also supported by AFD, and which has demonstrated here that the sport is a powerful force for social cohesion. It has been said over the various panels today, and also to strengthen national unity. I really wanted also to thank the first 2 panelists for their inspiring words and presentation. It's very exciting, and especially IOC, of course, for your leadership for all of us to make sport as a vehicle for inclusion, and especially for gender equality, which is a key priority, and IOC is a key partner of AFD. So at AFD, we share this conviction that sport is a strategic tool for social progress, education, economic empowerment. We know that challenges are huge. figures are already been mentioned in the film. 1 in 5 young people worldwide is neither in employment, education, or training. We know that women and girls are still facing significant barriers to access economic opportunities, and sport can provide cost-effective solutions to tackle those challenges. Philippe, may I quote UNESCO figures? And so based on UNESCO data, physical activity can increase academic performance by 40%, which is really significant. And 80% of young women who participate in sports strengthen their self-confidence. So it's also a levy for employment and empowerment. However, even though we have those data, 57% of countries spend less than 2% of their education budget on physical education, while we know that those investments generate significant social return. So what do we do on the AFD side? So we have made sport as one of our strategic line of action. So we support projects that promote sports for all, so that use sport to reach and to contribute to SDGs, to encourage equal access to sporting activities, and with really a focus on gender equality, reduction of inequality. So concretely, we do finance infrastructure, expertise, training. Since 2018, when we started to develop this mandate, so since then we have invested 230 million euros in projects. This is more than 200 sports for development projects across 50 countries, impacting nearly 10 billion young people. So let's have a concrete example. So in Senegal, AFD is supporting the legacy strategy of Dakar 2026 Youth Olympic Games. So this is going to be the first Olympic game event in Africa. So we provide a 60 million euro loan to the state of Senegal, and there's an additional 20 million under review. So this loan finances the refurbishment of a multi-purpose stadium in the center of Dakar, but also an Olympic swimming pool. Access, so therefore, and also, of course, as a legacy, dozens of community sports facilities in Dakar, but also all over the country. So therefore, it will contribute to reduce, the objective is to reduce inequality in access to public sports facility with a gender and sustainable focus. We work, of course, in close collaboration with the Ministry of Sport and also the organization committee of those Youth Olympic Games. And talking about impact, a study to assess the social and economic impact of those sports facilities is included and will be done during the project. Still talking about impact assessments, we also do finance in-depth scientific impact evaluation with the support of different research institutions. As an example, we finance an impact evaluation of a fencing program in Thiès, still in Senegal, close outside of Dakar. So it was a program launched by an NGO for young inmates as a way to learn new skills and to break with old habits. And it shows very, very impressive results, actually, as it reduced recidivism. it started 10 years ago almost, and the program has reached out so far 600 children and teenagers with a 0% rate of recidivism. And based on those results, so it shows the importance also to have robust data. Senegalese government has decided to extend the program nationwide, and therefore educators from the Ministry of Justice and prison officers are being trained by this NGO to this program, fencing and restorative justice method. So I do believe that we have all those figures, but really to provide robust data to policymakers is really key to have their commitment and to get them increasing budget and defining ambitious policy in sport. Just to end my speech, I'd like to have two calls for action, Philippe. Given the challenges and the need, we really need all together to go further, both on the investment side, but also on impact measurement. So in July July last year, ahead of the Paris Olympic Games, so France and IOC convened the first ever global summit for sport and development. This summit was a call to action, but also resulted in very strong and unprecedented political, sport, and financial commitments. So on the political side, we had more than 50 head of states who endorsed the Paris Agreement, and so they committed to integrate sport into national policy. So now the objective is to make sure this is going to be implemented. On the sports side, we had major sport organizations, so IOC of course, but FIFA and NBA pledged increased investment in local sport infrastructure. And on the financial side, which is our subject also for this summit, Development Bank within the Finance in Common Sport Coalition. So we together committed 10 billion euro investment in inclusive, sustainable, and community-based infrastructure by 2030. So I do believe that Development Bank has a crucial role to play in financing sports. And this is why we created the coalition. I'd like to thank CSC for their leadership in this movement and try to attract more investment. I'm very happy to announce that we have 20 new financial institutions that will join us at our coalition meeting tomorrow morning. So please, if there's any other interest, please feel free to join us. So this is a very good news. And the second call will be regarding impact measurement. So during this summit also in Paris, participants, they undertook to implement an aligned and consistent evaluation approach. So we are together working at a common framework to measure the impact investment. And I wanted to thank, of course, UNESCO and CAF for the leadership in this work, together, of course, with our support. And we'll encourage all institutions to adopt a stronger impact measurement framework. And also to announce that on AFD side, we'll also, in addition, work together with the World Bank to issue, we intend to issue a new report to explore the contribution of sports to sustainable development. So thank you.
Very well done in a little more than 6 minutes. I have a hard time following everything AfD are doing in the field of sport for development. It's immense. You are a real champion in walking the talk, in running concrete projects, in working on methodologies to share a common language around how do we measure the impact sport has, but of course also in terms of collective action. And I think you deserve another big applause for bringing us all together here. It's since now several years you take this role, and big thanks to you and your rather small team. It's amazing what you managed to deliver. I'm turning now to Ben. If there's one thing AfD may not be the champions in, it's communicating about everything they're doing, which of course is a rather forgivable weakness. I come to Ben, I think, in terms of one of the challenges, which is not just collective action, but it's also sharing knowledge collectively. Ben is the executive director of the international platform on Sport and Development, sportanddev.org. And I'm very happy that you are here. It must feel very nice to be for once in a conference that is hosted in your country, and you don't need to travel too long. Ben, I hand over to you.
Great. Thanks, Philip, and thank you so much for the invitation, and to UNESCO, AFD, Sport Impact for making this happen. And yeah, my presentation is called Let's Get Serious. And why Let's Get Serious? Let's get serious about sport and about sport for development. We only take sport seriously when people win Olympic medals, which is an incredible achievement, and we're blessed to have an Olympian here. But sport for sustainable development, grassroots sport, sport in communities, sport in underprivileged communities, sport as a human right is underappreciated. It's a forgotten right, and it needs to be taken more seriously, which is why we need to sustain, strengthen, and scale the work of sport for development and peace. A little bit of an overview of the sector and where we've come. It's grown rapidly. In the last 20 years. We've now got a range of actors across sectors using sport for development, private, public, third sector, NGOs. And so we've come a long way. The sector's gained some legitimacy, but as my compatriot Nelson Mandela said, after climbing a great hill, there are many more hills left to climb, and we have a lot of work to do. There is inequality across regions, across metrics like gender, race, disability, socioeconomic status. There's a resourcing challenge, and I welcome the commitments by all the development banks, which are a huge boost to the sector and the work that is being done often by civil society actors at grassroots level, who I believe are the true heroes of our sector. But there are a lot of opportunities, and that's where we'd like to focus. There's an opportunity to strengthen and build capacity on how to design, deliver, and monitor and evaluate projects and programs. How do we scale? We know some programs work in some places sometimes, but how do we scale so we get collective impact? And there are many, many more opportunities in this regard, and I welcome the work being done by UNESCO and Fit for Life, Olympism 365, and many others to scale their impact. Investing in organizations and approaches, not just project funding, investing in organizations and approaches that work, and reshaping a more equitable sector. How do we support this as the international platform on sport and development? We've been around for about 20 years, and we are a hub for the sport and development community to come together, to share knowledge, build good practice, and create partnerships. Everything we do is open access, because we believe the people that need the tools, resources, and information that we provide should be able to access it for free and in multiple languages. So it's really an invitation to all the development banks and everyone involved to make use of our platform, to engage with us, to share your news and information. With all these huge, wide-ranging global commitments, they need to filter down to grassroots level. There's a risk that they stay at the top level. The SDGs, the commitments of the Sport Impact Fund need to flow down. Information and opportunity needs to flow down to grassroots actors and civil society actors who are often absent from these conversations. We run a website in multiple UN languages, including French, Spanish, and Arabic, and we profile research, resources, news, information, all for free, and we feature organizations and the work they do without fear or favor. And linked to this, we've also been working really hard on building capacity. So there's been real capacity gaps in, not necessarily just in sport, but in sport and how to use sport for development. How do you actually use a sports program to contribute to the SDGs? Do you know what the SDGs are and what the SDG targets are? Do you know how to monitor and evaluate a sports program or build a theory of change or conduct a more sophisticated social return on investment study? And so we provide tools and resources that grassroots actors, the ones doing the work, can use to build their capacity. And one example of this is a massive open online course, which we developed in partnership with the Australian government and the Commonwealth. We've had over 9,000 learners from almost 200 countries. It's free, it's open access, it's in 4 UN languages. And I'm really proud to say that we launched a hybrid version of this course with the African Union Sports Council, where we brought senior government officials together to build capacity to take this knowledge back to their countries on how to mainstream sport for development, so that sport is not only taken seriously when the sport is serious, but sport is taken seriously when it comes to matters of health, when it comes to matters of education, crime prevention, youth development, and empowerment. This is when we should take sport seriously. I used to run a sport for development NGO using soccer. People used to say to me all the time, how many girls or boys in your program play for the national team? Some girls played for the national team. My question back to them was, how many of the girls in our program don't have HIV? How many of them are staying in school? How many of them are free from gender-based violence? And how many of them are moving into employment, education, and training? Those, I think, are far more important outcomes for sport than sporting outcomes. So to conclude, and I hope I haven't taken too long, Philip, our world is more unequal than ever. South Africa is the world's most unequal country, and sport too can be unequal, and we need to recognize that. The sport for development sector has grown rapidly in the 21st century, range of challenges and opportunities, and so we welcome the efforts of the FIX Forum, the Coalition on Sport for Sustainable Development, long overdue and fantastic work moving the sector forward, and there's a real opportunity to scale policies and programs. And so it's time to invest seriously, not just in sport for sport's sake, but a sport for a vehicle for development outcomes, and include civil society actors, the ones on the ground doing the hard work that are underfunded and under-resourced. As they said at the start of democracy in this country, Sekonjalo Kenako, the time is now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ben. I think Ben personifies in many ways the Sport for Development mandate. You have been on a long journey and still you are so passionate about what this is all about. I like also having you quoted for once a Nelson Mandela quote I didn't know so well, while the other one is being used and used. Still the best thing that has been ever said about Sport for Development. And you, I think, showed very concrete solutions that exist, technical solutions and capacity to really use sport and dev for knowledge sharing, capacity development.
But firstly, I would honestly want to say thank you to Kerry from DBSA and Jacob from SafeHub, just for giving me this opportunity and for allowing an athlete to have a seat at the table. I think it's such an important role. We firsthand experiencing the sport, we firsthand the people experiencing what comes into the visions that everyone has. So I'm very grateful to be on this panel, to be in part of the discussion. It's very intimidating to kind of be on this side. I prefer being in the pool. But it just really shows you what sports has given me. It has given me now this platform to sit on a panel like this, to have a discussion from my own story, share my story and my experiences, and see how we can work together to make it better for the next generation. And I think what they've all been saying is so true. Sport has really just changed my life in the emotional side, in like who I've become. I've always said swimming has blessed me with such amazing characteristics that I can take into the next chapter of my life. We know that sport doesn't last forever in terms of having it as a career, but to stay healthy, I'm grateful that sport has given me that, where I really love exercising, and it does me good. It keeps me sane in my mind, it keeps me calm, it keeps me on my toes. But I think what I'm very grateful for is that my story, the greatness of the story, but also the sadness, is that I am part of that, where it wasn't being treated fair. I can see first-hand experience of not being funded by my federation, purely funded by my dad, knowing that I couldn't make a career out of my sport. Is sad to say. Of course, yes, I do have sponsors, but we really just rely on sponsors, and that's not enough compared to what maybe the males get in the sport. So it's amazing to see the participation and just even the stats that you were saying with Olympics. It was so awesome to see that we had kind of the same a number of women participating than men, but we purely participate because we genuinely love the sport. We know that if we had to make it in a career, it's a different story. We know how much time and dedication it takes to kind of become just an Olympian, not even like winning a medal, just being able to get to that top level, how much time it takes, and to know that you're putting in all this time in something and you don't really know if it can be a career, you don't know whether you're going to be able to have money to put food on the table. It's hard to fully commit into something like that. And I think I was just reading up just before I came on, just on the participation. That is why men participate more, because they do see a future, they do see a career in sport where maybe females aren't as drawn. And I think the beauty is that I can speak on this, I can use my experience, say what is needed in the sport, but the sad part is that I had to face these things. The sad part is that the return in investment in my career, no one benefited out of it because no one invested in it. So it really is sad to be on the other side, but it has allowed me to have this platform, to have a voice, to have credibility to my voice, to say, you know, we need to change it for the next generation. We need to give them that space, because sometimes, I mean, we know that the sport helps us, but sometimes we don't have the talent necessarily in academics. I was very grateful I did still study, because I didn't know if I could make a career. So that was always in the background, is to know I had my degree, and it really, swimming did help me in discovering and balancing time and life, and just really teaching me that. But the unfortunate part is that we don't know if we can't sustain ourselves with a career in sports as females, and we've clearly seen it. I've experienced it in just coming back and how we celebrate it, and it's almost like you must take as much as you can in. And I don't really feel like that's supposed to be like that. I feel like we're supposed to embrace and really enjoy our sports and be celebrated. We give inspiration we give the same amount of inspiration to younger girls. We are more than 50% of women in South Africa. So my story also speaks to young girls, and I want to sit on the stage and be proud to say, you know, you can do this as a career. And it's sad to say I would sit here and advise girls to not pursue sport as a career, because if you're not gaining something personally, there's nothing else to gain in it. So yeah, I think it's now joining up together, allowing the athletes to tell their stories, allowing to hear what we can do together to impact the next generation. Take the rocks out, because sometimes we're adding rocks to their bags, and it's already so hard to get to a place to perform, to put money on the table. Now, how can we make those burdens lighter for the next generation? And I know my heart is massive, and the characteristics that swimming has given me is perseverance. So I'm very grateful for that. So I'll continue to pursue, and even if it just changes one person's life, and my story can impact one person, that's what we're here for. It was to say that my story, as grateful as I am, was to really tell the story of we don't need to leave South Africa to be better in sport. We can achieve great things by just staying here. We don't have the best facilities, which we hope can get better. We don't have the support, which we hope can get better. So if I'm able to achieve the things I did with so little, how much more can we achieve if we had more? So it's really, just calling and the urgency of, like, let's make a difference. I've been in many conversations, big talk, but really it's the urgency of let's put like action to words. So yeah, that is my call.
Nothing about sport without athletes and practitioners, right? This is so important, Tatjana, this voice. And I think we underestimate the skill set and the profiles of athletes. We always understand they have fought very hard to get where they get. They are persuasive, perseverant. We know all these qualities, but very often they were very good communicators because they had to argue to get where they are very often, and they are very persuasive and convincing. It is very important to stay on board with us to make this case. We want sport to be much more important for the benefit of everyone in the world. Everyone can benefit from sport, and we need strong voices such as yours. Big thanks for having joined us tonight. Now I turn to Rafael Hoyuela, the Senior Executive of the Global Resource Mobilization and Partnership Management of the Development Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean. Rafael, first of all, big thanks for being the last panelist. That's the most difficult job. But I wanted you to be the last panelist because CAF stands for many things that we need in this ecosystem. You have a vision of sport that is corresponding to the role we all wanted to play. You are one of the few development banks whose leadership has clearly understood the power of sport. And you walk the talk through many ways, through conducting loan projects and other projects in Latin America, which is a very vibrant region for using and investing in the social impact of sport, not just by banks, but by policymakers, sports organizations. And of course, together with UNESCO, we have the honor to lead the research task force within the Development Bank's Sport Coalition. Again, I use my own title for this coalition. Sorry, Celine. So you tick so many boxes that I really wanted to end this panel with a bank's perspective and a leader, another leader in this room. Rafael, I turn over to you to try and bring all these things together for the public in 6 minutes. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Philip. It's quite challenging to say something relevant after South African most decorated Olympian relating to sport. So, but it's been amazing to listen to Tatjana talking about the next generation. And it's quite important because you're a national hero. And people like you demonstrate, I have overcome, you can overcome. And you can overcome with the right support, with good policies, good programs, good investments. Well, thank you, Philip. It's a pleasure to share this panel with current partners, future partners, and for sure with friends. So I bring to the table the vision of a regional bank that has been evolving for the last 50 years. Began 50 years ago as an interregional regional bank, focused and specialized especially in infrastructure, roads, airport, ports, water and sanitation, energy. So everything related to integration and to development. It has also evolved and grown up as a bank from 6 member countries in its foundation to 23 nowadays. And it has a lot of significance because we have also evolved as a bank. For sure, infrastructure is in our core business, but we have evolved as a development institution focusing on several policies that have to be with the development at the national and at a local level. So, sustainable and regenerative tourism, digitalization, in artificial intelligence, sports and development. So those are new vertical and transversal areas of work of CAF. And what we have to bring to the table is not only financial instrument that we have. We have to bring to the table, first of all, ambition to impact in pilot projects and specific projects on the ground in hundreds of people to impact thousands of people and impact positively through sport millions of people. That's, I think, that the right ambition of a multilateral institution like ours. And we have to do it assuming that, as we did in other sectors, we need research, we need innovation, we need knowledge, good knowledge to design and to help our partners and shareholders to design good public policies and to attract public and private projects to impact those millions of people. So we need knowledge, and that is something that we are nowadays facing with UNESCO. And we will present tomorrow an initiative focused on inclusion and people with disabilities through sport, and to work in sport, through sport, to impact in gender equality and inclusive growth of people with disabilities. And we also know that you cannot design good policies and good projects if you don't have the feet on the ground. So you need pilot projects to take information, good information from the field, to check if it works, if it doesn't work, and to adjust your policies and investments. Because if we want to scale from 100 to 1,000 or to million, we need to attract investment, and we need to design good investment tools, and to that extent, we need good information. It's the same in energy, good project preparation in infrastructure, it is the same. So this research and innovation about gender equality and inclusion of people with disabilities through sports, I think it's something that we have begun to do with UNESCO, but we need other partners, because if we want to scale up these policies, we need other partners. We are already partnering in pilot projects, but we also need to connect the needs, the specific needs of our shareholders, of our local players on the field, with the research priorities, but focusing on the specific needs to design a pipeline, a concrete pipeline, to be very practical and to focus on what is really needed to design those investment projects and investment instruments. And Sports for Development is not new in CAF. We've been partnering with the International Olympic Committee, with UNESCO, with UNICEF, with many foundations, but focusing specifically, as I mentioned, to have the feet on the ground. In inclusion of people with disabilities, we have a specific pilot project in Chile that aims to impact 700 beneficiaries, but working with the ecosystem through specific coaching and training programs. And if it works and it provides us good information and good research information, we want to scale it up and bring this project to other countries. We've been working in other projects as the Champions project or the Somos project, and we also have partnered and signed an agreement with one of the most recognized foundations all over the world, which is the Real Madrid Foundation for football and also for basketball.
With all due respect for the Barca fans.
And, well, I have a boss who is Atletico de Madrid supporter, so it shows his generosity to partner with the Real Madrid. But we have not only to have the feet on the ground, we also need to have the heart in the ground. This is all the management team of the mobilization and partnership resources and alliances in CAF. And we went to a specific project in Colombia, in Barranquilla, partnering with the Real Madrid Foundation and with the Religiosos Camilo, because we want our team to understand what is after all our bureaucracy, financial instruments, partnerships. We have projects that really change lives, and that is necessary, and we need to share that internally in our institution. And we have to do that because all those people work with specific donors. For instance, AFD is a key player in this field, and it's a wonderful partner of CAF. So all those people have special connections with all this ecosystem that can support us to scale up, to research, to bring innovation and knowledge to the table. And we also have to take advantage of people like Tatiana, because if you have the president of the Real Madrid, who is also the president of the Real Madrid Foundation, supporting this initiative, it's interesting, at least, because they are developing almost 500 programs. Every year, they impact 40,000 young people and children, and we are partnering with them not only to develop and to support those specific projects. We are working with them in Barranquilla. We are opening a social sport initiative focused on gender and equality in Cali. We also support nine social sport initiatives in Bolivia, impacting 1,200 children, especially focused on people with disabilities. So, but we need to scale up. So this partnership also provides a lot of information. For your research, we have to connect with partners like Real Madrid Foundation because they are on the field, they have specific methodologies, wonderful professionals, a lot of consultants worldwide. So that can bring to the table a lot of knowledge, innovation, and so we need to work with that network, no? So at the end of the day, we need each other to scale up. I was shocked by your numbers. So it's amazing. So we have a conversation, and we have to have a conversation afterwards. So we need to work as a network, and working as a network with good partners, bringing innovation knowledge to design good financial instruments, to design funds focused specifically on sport and inclusion. So I think that's the way to do it. So we are doing that in Latin America, but we also connect with other areas. No? So we have to think big, be ambitious, and have very good and the right partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rafael. CAF is a multilateral development bank, and it is quite amazing to see how you drive innovation in Latin American governments through your leadership in the field of sport for development. It's a real privilege to have you in the coalition as a multilateral development bank. And I'm always surprised about the agility a bank can have, because you are subject to many controls of all sorts. You have the complexities of a multilateral institution that are very bureaucratic by nature, and yet you really show the way to do things in a different way and to introduce a whole new value chain in the development policies of your country. So it's a privilege working with you. I don't want to hold you back. I know you all have nice plans for the evening here, but I wanted to say one thing in conclusion. I think, first of all, we've seen there is a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience that is worthwhile to be brought together and to be made more accessible to many people who are not in this room, who may follow us online, or who are not even following us online, and who should be made aware of the power of sport, of the positive power of sport, especially, of course, policy decision makers and investors. Number two, there's a lot of things we don't know. There's a lot of things we need to further research. Investors and policy makers and decision makers need further evidence, need further conviction. And for that, my last call is we need to invest in research. It is not just investment in sport for development. Research, knowledge sharing must be part of financing sport for development if we want to share this ambition of sport to benefit everyone according to the different needs of different people at different ages in different places of the world with different capabilities. We need to ensure that we strengthen the evidence and